This is K.M. Weiland, and you're listening to the 78th episode of the Wordplay Podcast. I'm so close to finishing the first draft of The Deepest Breath that I can practically taste it, and yet I have this feeling like I'm just inching along. It's sort of like those cartoons of the man stuck out in the desert who's crawling along toward an oasis, and it just seems to get a little farther away with every inch he manages to drag himself forward. That's pretty much me right now. December is one of the few months in which I allow my writing to take a back seat to other priorities, most notably preparing for and spending time with family and friends during the holiday season. One of the most important commandments for any writer is know thy priorities, and during the Christmas holidays, writing takes an unabashed second place. I still try to squeeze my writing time in every day, but when it simply won't fit, I allow myself to skip a session here and there, guilt-free. Unfortunately, I can't claim the same guiltlessness for all those yummy Christmas goodies. Turn cliches on their heads. The latest post in the video series on my blog offers a nifty trick, via Sir Terry Pratchett's Guards, for taking seemingly worn-out ideas and using them to create something brand new. You can watch the video on my blog at wordplay-kmweiland, that's weiland.blogspot.com. New videos are posted every Wednesday. This week's podcast marks the beginning of a new series entitled Most Common Mistakes. From time to time, I'll be speaking on subjects inspired by the most common mistakes I run across in editing other people's work via my story consultation service. Don't worry, no names shall be named or specific examples used. I hope the series will prove helpful to you in nabbing these mistakes in your own stories, before an agent or editor nabs them for you. Enjoy this week's episode. Are your verbs showing or telling? One of the most common bits of telling I run across is also one of the easiest to overlook. It's also, fortunately, one of the easiest to correct. Let's take a look at the following impromptu example and see if you can spot the unnecessary telling. Therese stood on the corner of East and Maple. From her vantage point, she could see the argument developing between the owner of the upset hot dog cart and the policeman who had just arrived on the scene. Even from across the street, she smelled the mustard on the sidewalk and heard the vendor shouting. She felt her chest tighten in commiseration with his lost profits. Did you catch it? Practically every verb in this paragraph is telling the reader what Therese's senses are picking up, instead of showing the reader so that he can experience the sensations with her. Every time you write that a character saw, smelled, heard, or felt something, see if you can reword the sentence to show the reader just what it is the character is seeing, smelling, hearing, or feeling. In most instances, the rewrite only requires a few word snips and maybe a little maneuvering of phrases. The difference is often subtle, but it can produce powerful results. Let's rework Therese's paragraph to allow the reader to participate in the scene. Therese stood on the corner of East and Maple. Across the street, an argument blazed between the owner of the upset hot dog cart and the policeman who had just arrived on the scene. "You see this? Are you seeing this?" the vendor screamed. "You think I can afford this? How am I going to buy tomorrow's hot dogs if I can't sell any today? What am I supposed to take home to my wife and kids tonight, huh? Tell me that, huh?" The tangy odor of the mustard puddling on the sidewalk drifted across the street, and Therese's chest tightened. Poor guy. Can you hear the hot dog vendor's voice? Can you smell that mustard? Can you sense Therese's commiseration? With the exception of the added dialogue, the only difference in the second paragraph is the shifted emphasis from Therese's senses to the sensory stimuli themselves. Don't feel as if you have to delete every instance of a character feeling, smelling, seeing, etc. But keep your eyes open for places where you can effortlessly strengthen your scene by using verbs that show instead of tell. Thank you for listening to the Wordplay Podcast. To read a transcript of this episode, visit me on the web at wordplay-kmweiland, that's weiland.blogspot.com, and be sure to listen again next week.